Have you ever found yourself pulled toward someone you shouldn't want, someone whose very presence unsettles the air around you, whose quiet glances say more than words ever could? That's what happened to me. And once it began, I couldn't stop it. I didn't want to. There's something hauntingly beautiful about silence. It holds feelings too fragile for words, emotions that live in the spaces between heartbeats. That's how it all began, with Daniel, my neighbor. He moved into the building a little over a year ago. There was nothing remarkable about that day, no big hello, no forced small talk. Just a quiet man with kind eyes and a calm presence that softened everything around him. At first, we were nothing more than neighbors. He nodded when we passed in the hallway, sometimes held the elevator door, once even returned a package I'd left outside in the rain. Little gestures, nothing earth-shattering. But somehow, they lingered longer than they should have. One September evening, I was carrying groceries up the stairs when the bag ripped. Apples scattered across the steps, bouncing into the shadows. I froze, flustered, embarrassed, until Daniel appeared, jogging back from his run. Sweat clung to his collar, his headphones looped around his neck. Without hesitation, he knelt, gathering the apples into his strong hands. "You okay?" he asked, his voice low, warm, sincere. I laughed awkwardly, blaming my clumsiness. He didn't laugh at me, though. He just nodded softly, almost as if to say, "It happens to the best of us." That small kindness shifted something inside me. After that, it was like an invisible thread connected us. Our conversations grew slowly. Quick chats during morning coffee runs, casual hellos at the grocery store, late-night elevator rides where the silence felt heavy, but not uncomfortable. There was something in the way Daniel looked at me, as if he was listening not just to what I said, but to what I left unsaid. Once, I mentioned in passing that I hadn't cooked in days. The very next evening, there was a quiet knock at my door. When I opened it, a container of warm lentil soup sat waiting for me. No note, but I knew who it was from. He never admitted it, and I never asked. We didn't need to. Spring came with endless rain. One evening, we both ducked under the same awning outside our building. I was soaked through, brushing water from my coat, laughing at how ridiculous I must have looked. Daniel pushed wet hair from his forehead and smiled. "Maybe the rain just wanted us to talk," I teased. His eyes softened. "I like talking to you," he said quietly. Just 5 words, but they cracked something wide open in me. From then on, there was a pull between us, unspoken, careful, but undeniable. I learned he was a photographer. His work wasn't flashy, just raw and beautiful, black and white photos of real life frozen in time. A child chasing bubbles, a man feeding pigeons, a couple holding hands on a park bench. "You see things other people miss," I told him once. He smiled faintly. "Maybe I just take the time to notice." One cool night, I sat on my balcony, wrapped in a blanket, sipping tea. I didn't realize he was out there too, just beyond the divider. We sat in silence until he said, "You look tired." "Long day," I admitted. A moment later, a hand reached over the divider, offering a chocolate bar. I laughed, accepting it. "Chocolate fixes most things," he said. His voice was warm, easy. But that night, lying awake, I thought of his words and his hand just inches from mine. And I wondered, what if there were no walls between us? A few days later, I found something slipped under my door, a photo. It was me on the balcony, cup in hand, hair messy, a soft smile playing at my lips. At the bottom, written in small print, were the words, "You looked peaceful." My heart raced as I stepped onto the balcony. Daniel was there, leaning against the railing, his camera beside him. He didn't look at me, but I could feel him waiting. That night, sleep wouldn't come. The stillness pressed too hard. I found myself stepping outside again, warm milk in hand. "Hey," came his voice from the other side. "Can't sleep." I shook my head. "Just one of those nights." There was a pause. Then, softly, "I could use some company, if you want to come over." I hesitated, but only for a breath. His apartment was warm, lit softly by a lamp. A book rested on the couch, quiet music playing in the background. I sat beside him, unsure of what this meant, of how far we'd already crossed an invisible line. You're a good photographer, I said, trying to keep the moment light. He smiled. You're a good subject. Why did you give me that photo? I asked. He hesitated, then said, because it was the first time I saw you completely at ease. And I wanted you to see yourself the way I see you. My heart thudded. The question I'd been holding back slipped out. Daniel, have you felt it, too? This pull between us? His eyes locked on mine. Yes. I've been trying not to, but yes. The air grew heavy, charged with everything we hadn't said. I leaned my head against his shoulder. He didn't speak, but his hand slid over mine, steady, certain. After that night, things weren't louder between us, they were just clearer. Morning coffees turned into late-night talks. Walks. Shared meals. Shared silences that said more than words could. One evening after dinner, we strolled back to the building. I used to think love had to be loud, I confessed. He glanced at me, curious. But now I think maybe love lives in the quiet things, I said. The showing up. The noticing. He reached out, tucking a loose strand of hair behind my ear. His voice was barely a whisper. I see you. A few nights later, it rained again. We stood under the same awning, shoulders brushing. The world around us blurred into mist and water, but he was sharp, clear, undeniable. I turned to him, my heart racing, my voice barely audible. I don't want this to stop. And when his lips finally found mine, when his hand cupped my face like I was something precious, I knew. I had begged him not to stop. And he didn't.